Hey guys, enough said. Meet Simmons back with another video. Today we got a video from our favorite podcast, Real Relationships, Devin Steele and his wife. Today they're talking about the need for affection in a marriage and how one partner cannot be, very comfortable giving affection.
Yeah.
Very common thing. Here we go.
Two didn't really receive much affection growing up. I wasn't an affectionate person. Going into relationships, I wasn't always that affectionate either. In our relationship, I started to grow that affection just because I wanted to get outside of that level of comfort. I was so withdrawn from it because I was so used to not having it. And it was so hard for me to do it initially because that wasn't my norm. I wasn't used to being affectionate.
It's crazy. You did a good job masking.
Listen.
No, hold on. Because I'm sitting here listening to you talk. In order for you to make this relationship work in the beginning, you completely stepped out of your comfort zone.
Well, there's a lot to chop up there. Lots to chop up. And I want to kind of come from a different angle on this one.
Okay.
I don't know Devin Steele, and I do not know his wife. But I can tell you one thing about Devin Steele, and I have to have met him. He's a good man.
Yes.
Because she was willing to change to accommodate him. And I don't think that people really understand how deep that is. In today's world where everybody's like, you got to come 99% of the way, and then I'll come to 1%. She was willing to step outside of her comfort zone and try to be affectionate because she knew in her womanness, she knew that was important to him.
Right.
She was able to pick up on that and change tactics. Change. People say, "Oh, you ain't got to change for them." But yes, you do. Yes, you do. If there's something that you want, you got to change for that. And people. I was watching the Terry Crews interview with Club Shay Shay the other day, and he was talking about how he does everything like it's for $1 million. At one point, he was sweeping floors. He was out of the NFL, and he was sweeping the floor, and he came up with the idea that I'm gonna sweep this floor like they're gonna pay me $1 million. He was willing to go above and beyond just sweeping the floor because in his mind it was that important to him.
Yeah.
And I think if we had that same thing when it comes to our partners, a lot of marriages would last a whole lot longer. And because a lot of people don't come from that background, especially when people look like us, like. People don't hug a lot, and like my family is very affectionate, but your family is not at all, at all. And so that's something that you've had to work on. And how did that work out for you?
Excellent. You're still here.
I'm still here.
It was in the beginning. It was, I don't want to say it was hard because you were definitely my motivator to do that. And even prior to meeting you, I had already made up in my mind that I was going to do things so different, and I was willing to be so different because where I came from was so toxic that I didn't want that for my future children. Yeah. And I definitely didn't want that for myself or my future mate. So I had already come to that decision. And so by the time we had met, it was I'm not going to say it wasn't hard at times because it, again, like she was saying, it did go against my norm, but I wanted to be something different so bad that that's what drove me to do it.
Yeah.
And you made it easy. I'm not going to give too much information, but in the very beginning, we were both pretty inexperienced in all departments. And there was one department in particular that I was inexperienced in. And one thing that I have always appreciated about you is that you never made me feel dumb or you never made me feel less than. You just accepted me and my goofiness because I'm quite goofy. And you were always that safe place for me. So it made it easy to open up and be vulnerable and even share. And early on, we really learned to communicate. Like there would be times where I'd be like, I don't really know how to do this, or I'm not really good at this. And you would communicate, hey, I'm noticing you're struggling a little bit, but it's okay. And we did that for each other. So
yeah, and that's why I tell you I know Devin Steele is a good man because when you come from an environment like that where you're taught certain things, to step outside of it is very unnerving for a lot of people, and some people never get past it.
Yeah.
People never get past it. We've had couples that come to us, been married 10, 15, 20 years. They don't kiss. They don't hug. Get off of me. Don't touch me. They get that way with their kids. They don't hug their kids. After a certain age, the kids don't get no discipline, no love, no nothing like that.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, no love or just affection.
Affection.
And it gets really weird. It's not uncommon for people to be that way, and a lot of times when I'm talking about it, people think it's fathers. No, it's a lot of times it's moms.
I've had women I've talked to over the years that came from such
traumatic,
affection deprived environments. Yeah, definitely traumatic, but affection deprived environments that when it came time to actually nurse their children, they didn't even want that. They didn't want that skin to skin or that close touch with their child because they were so used to just don't touch, and the only time they wanted to touch was just a quick penetration, and then that's it.
Yeah. And a lot of people will say,
with their partner,
postpartum depression, this and that. Could be part of it, but there are people, like she said, with partners, like only certain positions they'll do
and
it.
Then you're done. Do your thing. You're done.
Don't kiss me. Don't even make eye contact with me during the act. These are things that happen. We've been doing this for a long time, and we know what we're talking about. And so those things are trauma responses. You got to get some therapy. You got to get some help to get through it. The truth is that if that's your story and that's where you're at, and you struggle showing affection to each other, it's going to come to a head at some point. Especially if you have a partner that has is very, they need affection, they need that touch. You're gonna struggle.
And stop skipping premarital. How many times do I have to tell y'all this? Stop skipping premarital coaching or counseling. I don't care who's doing it. Make sure it's quality. But y'all are getting married. Y'all are saying, I love you. You love me. Let's get married. A premarital session, you talk about that. And it's not just a mini sermon.
No.
You talk about these things, and it's not just let me give you a bunch of bullet points and you just take notes. No, you talk about. So, is affection important to you? Yep. Is how do you plan on raising your children? Like, those are the things you cover, a gamut of things.
Absolutely.
But affection needs to be intimacy, sex, all that needs to be talked about before you walk down the aisle.
It is very important, and if you don't do those things, if you don't do the work, you will find yourself in a very untenable place in your marriage, and you really won't know how you got there, because it's insidious. It's very small incremental things that happen, and before you're 5-10 years in, and you're like, we ain't even had sex in a month, or you never touched me. Why do you never touch me? And these are the things that come up. Then you got to come see somebody like us try to figure it out. I think the Steels are doing some really good work over there.
We're proud of you guys.
I really enjoy their podcast, and with that, that's enough said.